actually really useful.
All right.
Are you rolling?
Yeah.
All right. So Todd asked me some rando things. Then what you should do is you should actually use your phone to record that little mini LCD screen while we're doing it. All right. So anyways, ask me some.
I'll do a story.
All right, do a story. All right. So Todd asked me some rando questions.
All right. Here we go. All right. We are here. We're
here.
Do
you not know how to use the internet?
We're here with Eric Kim in Mexico City, and just doing a little interview. So what's been your favorite part about Mexico City so far?
So besides the phenomenal chocolate, this place is like crack. It's called like K-Bo, and it's the most hipster artisanal chocolate. It's amazing. I think my favorite thing about living in Mexico City is that okay, so this is just speaking from like wealthy foreigner American perspective. Here, your dollar is 10 to 20 times stronger than it is in the States. So I think the reason why this is important is that I think most people, when they want more money, they don't necessarily want to be richer for the sake of it. They just want to have more spending power to engage in more experiences that they otherwise couldn't experience. So like going to fancy restaurants, like going to a cafe and having whatever coffee you want, and not, feeling the sting associated with buying a $10 almond cappuccino in San Francisco. And so I feel that when you have enough spending power with less money, also one of the things that's been good for me is that like we go to like the fanciest restaurant in town, like Maroma. It's one of my favorites. You're in like a fucking tree house. It's so beautiful. You get great service. The food is amazing. You come out and then like the whole bill's like $30, and you're like, wow, the deal for this place is so good. So like even if I had the same quality of food in San Francisco and I paid $200, I wouldn't feel good about it. I'm like, okay, even if I was making $1 million a year, I'm like, I don't feel like I got a good deal. So here, as an American, as a foreigner being here, you feel like everything's a good deal, and therefore like everything just makes you happier. So for me, it's less stress about money, but also it's more of the joy of having more spending power and feeling no pangs or regret associated with buying things. If anything, whenever you buy things, you're like, wow, I can't believe that street taco was only 50 cents. It was amazing, and like crazy filling me up. More questions.
That was so long.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like
cool.
7 stories.
Are you still recording?
I'm there, I am.
Yeah, so ask me some more questions then.
All right, so let's see. So you only have, not even a week left? Huh?
Yeah.
Kind of sad, but where are you going next?
So where am I going next? So we're flying from Mexico City to DC. Cindy's doing a conference there. I'm going to be doing like a free photography talk for like a bunch of kids there, and part of Project Create. We're going to be in the East Coast for a little bit, and then we're going to go to Denver. I'm doing a workshop there, and I've never been there before too, so I'm pretty excited. One thing I'm not really looking forward to is going back to the cold. But yeah, essentially, Cindy's applying for a bunch of jobs. We're probably going to hear back from it pretty soon. So to me, it's pretty exciting the next few months. It kind of gives me the chance to really think about where the next 6 months to 2 years of our life are going to be. Right now, we're living pretty dynamically and intermittently in different places. Like before here, we're in Cindy's mom's house in SoCal for about 3 months. Now we've just been here in the Airbnb for about a month. So it's been really fun and dynamic. I mean, I think what I personally learned about like traveling and living and stuff like that is that like it doesn't really matter too much of where exactly I am, but it's more the fact that you're looking forward to change. And I think for me, life is all about change. It's about being dynamic. Like so I think that's why people like to travel, because they love the novelty. And so for me, I generally love change and novelty. So that's going to be it. I mean, who knows? We'll be back later in the year. We'll be back in Vietnam doing a Hanoi Sapa workshop. Check that out on my workshops page. And yeah, hopefully the most important thing for me to still stay inspired, shoot photos, and write blog posts and videos and other stuff like that. More questions?
So, okay, after leaving here and going to Washington, D.C.,
yep.
Like, how's the food going to be for you?
Okay, so this is my personal goal, right? So even eating at fancy places in Mexico City, one place I highly recommend, Dolce Patria. Whoops. The food here is like a fucking work of art. It's amazing. So this is my experiment. Unless I'm just meeting friends for dinner or whatever, I will never personally go out by myself to eat at a $2 Yelp sign, a $3 Yelp sign, or a $4 Yelp sign restaurant. Like, to me, the only food in America that's worth it is all you can eat Korean barbecue. Now all you can eat is shabu shabu. Shout out to Miss Shabu and also Shik Turak. And and so for me, the food here in Mexico City, in terms of not only just the price, but just the cuisine, the presentation, the artistry associated with it, it's like 1,000,000,000 times better than any food I have in the world. This includes like France, Japan, stuff like that. So now I'm like, man, I'm not gonna waste my money anymore having these like fancy dining experiences when I know that I could just come to Mexico City. And like, it's crazy. Let's say you drop like $300 on a fancy meal in San Francisco. I could use half that money to just fly to Mexico City for the weekend, get an Airbnb, buy the food, and I'll still probably save myself. Like, so for me, from a practical perspective, it makes 0 sense to spend money on fancy food in America. So, moving forward, I'm just gonna keep having my 10 egg snacks in the evenings, eating more like street tacos, whatever. And in America, whenever possible, like not wasting any money eating out at any sort of restaurants. Because like even the fanciest restaurants I've been to state, I don't think I've had a single memorable meal in America, to be honest. And yeah, it's just like not even that good. You feel rushed out. It's not even that comfortable. So yeah, only spending money on like hipster coffee shops, all you can eat Korean barbecue, and that's pretty much it. So to me, this is a big mental shift. All right, other questions, Todd?
All right, so what else? Moving forward with your nomadic lifestyle.
Yep.
How has that been, and how long do you think you can keep that up?
Yeah, so I think for me, just kind of thinking more into the future. Most likely Cindy will get like an academic job, which means we'll probably be stationed somewhere for a longer period of time. But at the same time, I feel like maybe even the nomadic term, like I don't really like it because it's like, so this was way too trendy now. So I almost want to liken it to like a military duty, because like in the military it's like, oh, I'm working for the foreign service and I'm going to be in like Iraq for 2 months and I'll be like in South Korea for a year. And so it's kind of like the idea that you're spending certain chunks of time intermittently in different places. And so for me, I personally loved it because when I'm on the road, or I'm on the mindset of being on the road, or it's a little bit uncertain how long I'm going to be, it helps me just minimize my life and helps simplify it. I'm actually more productive. I have fewer distractions. Like probably the best thing about not being in America is I don't have Amazon Prime. So I'm not always getting suckered into like, oh, should I buy this? Should I buy that? And stuff like that. And for example, even when I was living in Vietnam, I'm not like, oh, I want to buy the new Apple something, because I know the Apple store is just a drive away. You can order online. In Vietnam, I just kind of get by with the simple equipment that I have. So it essentially simplifies my life. Like even living in Vietnam, I'm just living in just like a small cheap hotel, and I have my laptop, my camera, and that's like pretty much it. And it kind of realizes that for me, happiness is all about creative productivity, walking around, talking to people, socializing, dreaming big with Cindy, making cool shit. And so yeah, so for me, I think for me, it's not necessarily the nomadic living which makes me happy. It's the creative productivity which comes generally with living on the road, which actually makes me happy. Any other questions?
Cool.
Last question.
Last question. All right.
Last question.
So we're talking about your workshops.
Yep.
And incorporating more of your food experiences and more of the travel experience.
Yeah.
And what, so like describe that.
Okay, so that's a great question. I think this is like going to be a new shift in my workshop experiences, and also for anyone watching who's an entrepreneur trying to do their own workshops and stuff like that. I think it's not just about doing a photography workshop for the sake of photography. It's not like it's only about photography. I feel like it's really this holistic experience where, for example, even here in Mexico City, I'm doing the workshop right now. We're having amazing food. We're going to really cool places, and like even the workshop participants like, we didn't expect the food to be like this good. And so I always joke around. I was like, oh, you go back home, people are like, oh, how's Eric Kim's workshop? It's like, it was okay, but the food was amazing. So, I mean, for me, obviously, I like food, I like chocolate, I like coffee and stuff like that. I feel that to just focus only on photography, it's kind of a little bit too narrow. It's a little bit naive to not want to have nice experiences like going to nice restaurants or seeing a more dynamic range of a place. Because like even a lot of travelers, they're kind of like, oh, I want to be prudent. I only want to eat street food, and I don't want to go to a fancy restaurant, spend much money. I'm like, dude, like you don't travel that often. Like, why not have both? Have like the street food, have the extremes, and have also like super fancy restaurants. And for us to go at a pace where you really make photos that you're quite pleased with. You talk with the people, you learn about the culture, you expand your mind and vision in the world. It makes you happier, it makes you more joyful, more vigorous, and creatively inspired. And then after the end of the trip, you have something you're proud of. We're gonna work on making like an ebook together or a slideshow or maybe even a collection of images that you're proud of. So I think moving forward, this travel street photography experience is gonna be a combination of food, sites, travel, adventure, creative productivity, learning about life hacks, blogging, video, and so forth. So to me, it's going to become like this full stack package where it's a much more holistic experience. So you come away from the workshop not just like, oh, I made some good photos, but like I had a phenomenal time, I had some of the best food. And you become like almost like an evangelist for like traveling or stepping outside the comfort zone, Mexico City, stuff like that.
That's right. Great. And one quick thing.
Yep.
With being in Mexico and with your Spanish.
Yep.
And you're also teaching the participants a little bit of phrases.
Yep.
So how does that go, like enhance your day?
Man, it's so simple. Okay, so this is my tip. This is a great question about the language thing. I think the most important thing in a foreign language or a foreign place, like it really doesn't matter how good you are at speaking the local language, your grammar, and all this nerdy stuff. The most important thing is for you to connect with the people like emotionally and to kind of essentially tell them that like, hey, I'm not just like another foreign tourist, like I'm in the in crowd. So for example, we went to the Al Merced market today for the carniceria, the place where they're making the meat and chopping shit up. I'll be like, hey, ¿qué pasó, cuñado? Cuñado means brother-in-law. So if you tell a dude, call a dude cuñado, essentially means you're sleeping with your sister. So I'll be like, hey, ¿cómo está su hermana? It's like, how's your sister doing, right? So like, the funny thing is I learned this actually when I was back in the States and I was working in like a kitchen with a bunch of Mexican guys and they'd always be joking with, hey, ¿qué pasó, cuñado? ¿Cómo está su hermana? And I always thought that like, cuñado meant like amigo. I didn't learn till like 5 years later what it really meant. So I'm like, oh, it's so nice. It's so friendly to me. And they're always asking how my sister is, right? So it's like, but then the nice thing about Mexican culture, it's never in a mean spirit. It's not like literally they're like, I'm fucking your sister. It's just kind of this fun thing. So when I meet other Mexicans here, I'm like, hey, ¿qué pasó, cuñado? They instantly like, wait a second, how did this random like Koreano, like Korean dude, like they know what my speech is? It's almost like, imagine if a random Korean fob came to like a hip hop contest and everyone's like, what the hell is this guy doing here? And then he busts a crazy freestyle. But we're like, whoa, because it's a little bit more expected, but it's really showing that you're part of the in culture. So I would actually recommend whenever you're in a foreign country, learn the local slang. It's probably one of the best things. Like even when I was living in Vietnam, one of the new trendy words is bye, which means like fucking. Like, so it's like, oh, like, if you say like, oh, it's like really expensive, like it's fucking expensive, you'd be like, Mac bye, and then all the young kids and even some of the older people are like, they start laughing out loud because they're like, how the fuck does this guy know this? Like, it's almost like if a Chinese fob came to the States and it's like literally not know how to speak English, like, man, that's hella dope, or like that's hella expensive. You'd be like, what? Like, how do you know that? Like, only people from NorCal know this. So essentially you're trying to show that you're part of the in culture. And also a lot of it is that like, I think grammar is for nerds. I think grammar is the most overrated thing in the world. The most important thing is just to practically communicate, to open up your heart. Even one thing that I do in Spanish, when I talk to Uber drivers, I'll just try to chat with them with the little bit of the Spanish that I know. And then whenever they talk back to me, I literally pair it back to what they say, even though I might not really know what they're saying. So for example, they'd be like, oh, comida aquí es más barato. And I'm like, I don't even know what barato means. I'm like, Are you talking about like burrata, the caprese sandwich, the cheese? And then, and it's, sí, es muy barato, right? And then he'll talk about like, the tacos being only like 10 pesos. Then I'm like, oh, okay. Barato means cheap. And then later in the conversation, he's like, something's más rica. It's expensive. It's rich. So I'm like, oh, or cara. Cara actually technically means expensive. So once again, like, one of the best ways to learn language, it's almost like jousting and kind of inferring based on context, it's based on difficulty, and it's just like not taking yourself too seriously. Like, even now, like I don't really know Spanish grammar that well. I took it in secondary school, but yeah, it's essentially just taking risks and knowing that it's better to just make yourself a fool in a foreign language than to not speak anything else. All
right, cool.
All right, so to pimp Todd and the, what are we recording this on?
The DJI Osmo Pocket.
DJI Osmo Pocket. They make drones. They took the drone thing and they actually made a video camera. I might get one. And then Todd, where can people follow you?
Todd Hata, TODD over all of the socials.
Why is your name Hata?
Because it's first part of my long Japanese last name.
What's your Japanese last name?
It's Hatakeyama.
Hatakeyama? Oh wait, so this interview ain't over.
Oh,
so Todd, what's been your favorite part about Mexico City?
Food, the people, just the not spending much money.
Yeah?
I mean, I've been here 2 weeks. Yeah, today's 2 weeks. 6 or 7 different cities so far. I've taken buses, Ubers, metros, planes, and I haven't spent much money at all.
You know how Todd, like, we've both traveled the world together and stuff like that. And a lot of people want to travel, but they're like, oh, like, I'm barely making ends meet. I'm barely paying my rent. Like, how can people travel on the cheap or more affordable or some sort of like economical travel hacks you have?
Well, so I flew from LAX to Leon, Guanajuato, just about 3 hours north of Mexico City.
Yep.
$120 one way. I mean, that's so cheap. It cost me almost more than that to get to LAX from my house without driving.
Uh-huh.
And if you're in Southern California, drive to the border and take the express bridge to Tijuana Airport, and you'll fly for even cheaper within Mexico.
Isn't that illegal?
No, it's legal. Just have a passport.
Yeah.
But you could fly Tijuana to Mexico City, probably $60, $70.
What?
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
It's so cheap.
How come you didn't tell me about this?
But you have to park near the border, which is about $10, $11 a day. So if it's a long trip, take public transportation to the border.
But then, Trump's trying to build the wall and stuff like that. Aren't Mexicans just a bunch of like rapists and dangerous people? Like, what's your experiences with Mexican people?
They're just nice people. They're hardworking, very friendly. I took a 1-week Spanish class in Guanajuato, like 4 hours a day. And I've been just chatting with the locals, working on my Spanish. And I'm getting there. I've been to Mexico a lot, 30, 40 times. But
30, 40 times? Why do you keep coming back?
It's close to California. I used to go to Hawaii a lot. Then it's like, oh, Cancun is so much cheaper. Like 10 years ago. Now it's too crowded.
Yeah.
But I started, just going more and more inland and discovering Guadalajara, Guanajuato, Mexico City.
Yep.
Probably going to hit Puebla later this trip, and maybe Monterrey. And each city has a different flavor, different feel, different architecture. Just different crowd, but overall, people are nice.
Is Mexico City your favorite?
I don't know. It's so hard. There's so much traffic here. I've been in all the small cities with not much traffic.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of tough. But the variety here, you can get Asian food. The street food's great. And a lot of the higher end restaurants are here.
Okay.
Too.
Oh, also random question. So, like, some people might be watching, like, who the hell is this rando Todd Hata guy? Like, quick summary of, like, how we met and why we were such butt buddies.
Well, we met, 8 years ago or so?
Damn, was it 8 years ago?
I think think so.
Oh shoot, yeah, because it was like 2011 when I first started my YouTube thing, and then it's 2019. Holy moly, 8 years ago, huh?
Yeah.
Dang, and I was like, and that's when I was like a naive 22-year-old.
He was just a baby.
Oh yeah,
And
I'm getting old like you now.
yeah, we just kind of, I don't know, hung out a lot, traveled the world a bit, and yeah, and then I kind of veered off photography into videography, doing YouTube and Instagram. Firework. Check out the Firework app.
What's Firework?
It's kind of like Vine, but longer, 15 to 30 seconds. And they're really pushing now to get quality content, a lot of travel content. So check that out. It's I think it's a pretty cool platform. Hopefully it'll catch on, and I'll be one of the featured creators on there.
So Todd, what do you think makes me unique or strange or interesting compared to other individuals or creators or people you've met?
I think Eric just he beats to his own drum.
Yeah,
Like,
what does that mean?
He deleted his Instagram account with twice as many followers that I have. And yeah, just he's an artist, he's a philosopher, he's a foodie, and basically he just loves people. So
Can you fake loving people?
no, because I don't love people nearly as much as
You love some people though, right?
some people.
You love me, right?
Yeah.
I love you too.
So,
And and also like other thing that I want to ask you is like what are some tips you want to give to other people who want to start their own YouTube channel or start making their own videos or vlogs? I mean, we're talking a lot about strategies and making money on the YouTubes and stuff like that. So what are some like tips you wish you could have gave yourself if you start this whole thing all over again?
just do it. Like I wanted to do video for so long, and it took me forever to get over that fear of editing and it's a lot of work, but just do it. It's gonna suck at first. No one's gonna watch it, just your mom maybe. But just keep doing
Your mom and your dog.
Yeah. Do it, practice and get better and learn from people and just travel, and
But my I don't have a video camera.
just use your phone.
But my phone, I have an old iPhone.
That's fine. A good friend of mine, he's got a big channel and he uses, is it a 6S, I think?
An iPhone 6S? That's
so.
from like 30 years ago.
And he's got way more subscribers and views than me, and I got too much gear.
But how do I get more viewers and subscribers?
No, just be entertaining.
Be entertaining?
Yeah.
Oh, and the one thing that was kind of interesting is like in Latin, entertain means entenere, which means to hold. So actually to just hold people's attention. Do you say you have a pretty short attention span?
Very short, like 3 seconds.
Wait, so what entertains you?
Oh, what'd you say?
What entertains you?
Just kidding.
Oh.
Uh,
you could be PC too, don't worry.
I need like visual stimulation. Like I can't even read anymore. I don't. The only time I'll read is if it's something I have to learn to make money at.
Oh, that's interesting.
Otherwise, if it's more than a paragraph, sorry bloggers, I kind of just skim your stuff because I can't. I can't.
So I need to do more blog posts and videos on how to make money.
Yeah.
Or get more followers.
Yeah. Educational things I'll read and put the time in, but otherwise my attention span is just way too short.
Okay, so you're youtube.com/Todd Hata.
Yeah.
And then why should people subscribe or like your videos or watch your videos?
Just follow my adventures, meeting people around the world. Just trying to hit, as many interesting places that I can. Just going through my bucket list, which isn't really set, but I just did the Galapagos. I did Iceland last year, I think. And I'm going to be going more to Eastern Europe, try to get some of the places that not many Americans are traveling to.
So what else is on your bucket list in Eastern Europe? I'd actually love to go to Eastern Europe too myself.
I don't know. I want to. Everyone's talking about Georgia and.
Isn't that in America?
Yeah. Funny story at the New York Times travel show.
Yep.
Georgia had a big booth.
Yeah.
And they
got
had
like
to put
peaches.
a sign up saying the country, not the state.
They got like a bunch of
So,
peaches, right?
yeah,
That's
so
hilarious.
So I went up. I told him, "Hey, I've been to Atlanta," and he just kind of looked at me disgustingly.
Was that a joke?
Yeah. But yeah. So, but yeah, Georgia is like have some travel blogger friends that are spending some time there, and they're really liking it. So.
So random question: are travel bloggers rich and happy?
They're not rich. They're probably happier than the average working person, I would say. I don't know. It depends. It depends what you're into. But yeah, just being able to see new things, and I can't sit in an office.
So we're kind of like a unique breed of people. We just we're at this point practically unemployable, right?
Yeah.
So let's assume that I'm an engineer at Google or Facebook. I'm making pretty good money, but my real passion is traveling, photography, video, whatever it may be. How do I escape this corporate slavery and do what I love for a living?
I don't know. It's I worked corporate for a while, which is just life sucking.
Me too.
So, if you're making a lot of money, just put a lot of money away, and I don't know, get a part-time job or something where you can work remotely, or be a consultant. If you're making $200,000-300,000 a year up in Silicon Valley, put half of that away for 2 or 3 years, and man, you could travel the world for 10 years or more, and figure it out. Something. If you're at that level, anyways, you're smart. You'll come across something to make money.
Well, that's actually a good strategy too, because I think, I'm a little bit on the fence about this too, but I feel that if you're an engineer making 200 grand a year or 100 grand a year doing something, right? It makes more sense for you to just keep grinding out, save a shitload of money, and then just travel the world and just kind of figure out. For example, even in Vietnam, I was living in Hanoi, living in this schwanky, brand new apartment for $350 a month, and cost of living was so cheap. So I'm just you just do the math. You could live there kind of pseudo indefinitely, or even if you find out that you could do some remote work for your tech company or stuff like that. I mean, there is this thing called the internet, right? So people could do that, right?
Yeah. I have some friends. Shout out to Divert Living.
Who?
Divert Living.
Like Divert?
Yeah. So check them out.
Mm-hmm.
They're currently in Sri Lanka. So they both saved up, I think it was $5,000 each.
Only $5,000? Okay.
And they traveled a year on $10,000 between them.
Damn.
And
only $10,000 for a year?
And by the end of the first year, they were starting to make some money, and now they're still traveling and making money. Enough. They're not rich, but they're able to support their travel and grow their YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, because for me, my personal definition of success is doing what you love and not being homeless. But then again, I guess now that I'm living on the road, I am technically homeless. Is there an end to your travels? Just at a certain point, you're just okay, I've traveled and I see the world, I could just settle down in the mountains? Or do you just want to keep indefinitely traveling until you die?
I don't know. The world's huge. And, even though I've been to, almost 50 countries.
50 countries. How many cities?
I don't even know.
Lost count.
Some countries, it's only one city, the main, the capital cities. So
Yep.
that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
You gotta get in there and really explore. So
Yep.
even though I've been to almost 50, I still gotta go back. And so you'll never finish traveling the world, I think. So just keep going. as long as I can.
That's pretty deep. Wait, so how does this thing work? Recenter? Wait, how do I make this go into selfie mode? Triple tap?
Triple, yeah.
Whoa! That is amazing. Wait, so, man, I think I should probably... Also, now it's looking for us.
Oh, double tap.
Oh, there it's going.
Double tap. And it'll
Double tap to
recenter.
refocus, to recenter. Oh, that's pretty cool. Right? So, there's going to be a lot of fun Eric Kim, Todd Hata collabs. A lot more buddy time. And yeah, feel free to share your thoughts. If you have any questions for Todd Hata, because he's a comment freak, leave a comment below on how you could be rich, travel the world with Instagram babes, and do cool stuff. Peace out.